Hello and thanks for tuning into the show that goes around the continent to bring you stories near and far. I'm Chamberlain Uzel at Channels Television here in Lagos. I'm joined by Esther Githu-Ewart from Voice of America in Washington.
Thanks. I'm Esther Githu-Ewart, happy to be with you for another edition of Africa 54. Due to the global outbreak of COVID-19, our broadcast looks a little different for now. We appreciate you staying with us on Africa 54. Let's start off with the latest from Nigeria. Chamberlain Uzel in Lagos brings you that story.
It's a new dawn in the United States of America as Democrat Joe Biden has been sworn in as the 46th president of the country. Some analysts believe that his predecessor, Donald Trump, disregarded and disrespected Africa while in office. Well, therefore, hopes are high that the new U.S. administration will be more civil towards the continent.
U.S. President Joe Biden signs 15 executive actions shortly after his sworn-in on Wednesday, January the 20th, undoing policies initiated by his Republican predecessor, Donald Trump. He's also asking hundreds of appointees to his new administration to work towards restoring the decency that was missing during the 4 years of his predecessor's tenure.
But I'm not joking when I say this. If you're ever working with me and I hear you treat another colleague with disrespect, talk down to someone, I promise you I will fire you on the spot. On the spot. No ifs, ands, or buts. Everybody is entitled to be treated with decency and dignity. That's been missing in a big way the last 4 years.
So is there hope that this civility and decency will be extended to Africa, a continent that has been called derogatory names by his predecessor?
Biden has also shown some recognition for people, Africans in the continent, the diversity of people that make it that in his administration gives one the impression or that he is going to be very friendly to immigrants.
While campaigning for the presidency, the Biden campaign published the Biden-Harris Agenda for the Diaspora. In it, the document promises a change in tone, the restoration of mutually respectful engagement, and the revival and reinvigoration of diplomacy. It also endorses a continuation of President Barack Obama's Young African Leaders Initiative. Analysts believe this reaffirms America's support for African democracy and economic growth.
We have the biggest stake in Africa. It is our continent, and so we must do everything to make sure that Africa is better. But that is not to say that other countries cannot engage, other continents cannot engage with the African continent, but they must do that in a way that is meaningful and respectful to the nuances in Africa.
The campaign was cautious in its promises. There is no reference to an increase in U.S. federal spending on African aid and development, nor are there commitments to deeper U.S. involvement in Africa's security challenges. Nevertheless, there is optimism that the return to civility between both parties will help deepen ties between Washington and Africa.
Let's get more on this story from the Director General of the Boli Tax Center for International Diplomacy and Strategic Studies, Professor Bola Akintayowa. Thank you for joining us today on Africa 54. Now, let's start with this. On his first day in office, Joe Biden has already begun reversing some of his predecessors' policies. How do you expect the new U.S. administration to differ from Donald Trump's administration in terms of U.S.-Africa relations?
There are many areas of differentiation, but let us focus on the four main critical ones. First of all, on the agenda of white supremacy, the bitter truth is simply that Donald Trump has an agenda of protecting white supremacy, and he's hiding under the policies of America First. The second area is in the area of multilateralism. Donald Trump doesn't believe in multilateralism at all. He prefers bilateral diplomacy, whereas Joe Biden is a favorite of multilateral diplomacy and plurilateral diplomacy. And that's why you can quickly see he announced the forthcoming return of the United States to the Paris Agreement and on climate change. The third area is a good neighborliness policy. Donald Trump doesn't believe in this good neighborliness. That's why he decided to make life difficult for the immediate neighbors, particularly by seeking to build, a border, concrete border, to stop that, which Joe Biden now says they should stop the construction of that. The fourth area is the attitudinal disposition. If you look at Donald Trump, his own blood system is not made up of white blood cells, phagocytes, that are fighting. No, his own is actually to destroy. Joe Biden has white blood cells that want to put an end to societal ills. So in terms of their makeup, their attitudinal disposition, they are not the same thing at all. And more importantly, Donald Trump is Republican. Joe Biden is Democrat. The difference is clear in terms of their attitudinal disposition to African interests.
Now, I mean, the concept of governments being a continuum, there are those who say that reversing some of these policies already negates that, and that looks different. But does this have any indication whatsoever about America's foreign policy as a whole?
You see, when we say government is a continuum, it is true. But we must understand continuum in a particular context. That is to say, there cannot be a vacuum in political governance. In terms of international responsibility of a country, international obligations are created by agreements that were done. And in the spirit of sanctity of agreements, or pacta sunt servanda, the issue is that there must always be a government that will be held responsible for whatever might have been done, either by the nations or by the government itself. That is the only meaning of having or considering, government as a continuum.
President Biden, in his inauguration speech, did acknowledge that democracy is fragile and must be protected at all costs. What lessons can Nigeria, and by extension Africa, learn from the U.S. democratic process?
The first one is to look at the capacity of the Nigerian government to learn new lessons from them. If we don't have the capacity, if the determination is not there to do so, we wouldn't learn anything. Learning lesson is first of all a resultant of determination to learn and acquire experiences. The second way of looking at it is that there is the lesson for every one of us to know that it cannot be sufficient to have a strong leader. What is sufficient is also to have a strong leader with strong institutions. American institutions are strong. That's why the excesses of Donald Trump have been successfully contained. The second one is that the need for leaders in Africa to be completely free from what I will call, corrupted mind, completely free from political chicanery, completely free from politicians without integrity, completely free from a docile society. We need to learn that lesson.
All right, then, Professor Bola Akintayo, many thanks to you for joining us today on Africa 54.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Esther Gido-Ewart in Washington. Kamala Harris made history on January 20th when she was sworn in as America's first female vice president. VOA's congressional correspondent Catherine Gibson reports on the path that brought Harris to the second most powerful position in the U.S. government.
A history-making moment in the United States.
While I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last.
The 56-year-old Harris thanking her running mate, President-elect Joe Biden, and voters for choosing her to become the first Black and Indian American woman to serve as U.S. Vice President.
You know, we've had women at the Supreme Court. We have Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the House in Congress, but never in the executive branch have we had a woman vice president, and still not president. But not only that, but to have a woman of color, a woman from immigrant parents who came to this country for a better life.
The daughter of an Indian mother and a Jamaican father, Harris was born in Oakland, California. A mural of her now on the Berkeley, California school she was bused to as a child as part of racial integration efforts.
She's broken so many glass ceilings for so many women.
A graduate of Howard University, an all-black college in Washington, D.C., Harris became the first black female San Francisco prosecutor beginning in 2004, and then California Attorney General in 2010. Hands up! Don't shoot! Hands up! During Black Lives Matter protests this summer, some progressives complained Harris had been a much tougher prosecutor than she let on, took contradictory positions on the death penalty, and failed to hold police accountable for misconduct.
This is a moment in time that is requiring us to fight.
Harris first made history in California when she was elected to the U.S. Senate.
It's important that people see people in power that look like themselves.
Harris, who speaks often about her role as an aunt and a stepmother, is married to lawyer Doug Emhoff, who will now be the second gentleman, an entirely new position in White House history. And while the most important job for a vice president is to be ready to step in for the president if needed, analysts say Harris may also make use of her historic first.
And she can be a stateswoman representing the United States, but I think she'll travel around the United States as well to show that symbolism of what she's doing.
A new global role in the White House, celebrated halfway around the world in her ancestral village in India. Catherine Gibson, VOA News, Washington.
A young Nigerian boy, Chinonso Eche, has set a world record for the most consecutive soccer ball touches in 1 minute while balancing a second ball on his head. The 12-year-old, who has become an online sensation, says he's planning to take his skills global when he grows up.
Chinonso Eche, from the city of Warri in southern Nigeria, has become an online sensation, with videos of his tricks attracting thousands of viewers. Inspired by footage of footballers Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, as well as retired Nigerian midfielder JJ Okocha, Chinonso said he mostly taught himself.
My father made impact in my life by showing me some videos of Lionel Messi, Ronaldo, Okocha, and I picked up from there.
Chinonso managed 111 football touches in 60 seconds, while a second ball balanced on his head, earning him a place in the 2021 edition of the Guinness World Records, the first time it is included in the annual reference book.
Before, my friends was cursing me, laughing at me, but when I break a record, my friends said they want to be like me.
The boy, now backed by a management company, hopes his talents will turn into an international career.
My dream is to become a footballer and international freestyler and travel all over the world.
Chinonso's next target is 2,000 consecutive touches while balancing a ball on his head.
South Africa's new COVID-19 variant raised alarm globally. How dangerous is the strain, and will vaccines work against it? Rosanna Philpott reports.
South Africa's COVID-19 variant is highly contagious, spreading rapidly and raising growing alarm globally.
This new variant is highly concerning because it is yet more transmissible and it appears to have mutated further than the new variant that's been discovered in the UK.
The one from the Republic of South Africa is a little bit more complicated.
This is a very dangerous time in the course of the pandemic.
I'm not happy with the speed you...
Where did it come from? How dangerous is it? And will vaccines work against it? The mutation, referred to as 501.V2, was discovered by a network of scientists around South Africa. First in Nelson Mandela Bay on the east coast, then spreading rapidly to the south and southeast of the country. Up to 90% of new cases are carrying the mutant variant, according to health authorities, driving a surge in infections that threatens to overwhelm South Africa's healthcare system.
Our water full. It's a very painful situation because a person in casualty, for you to get a bed, someone must die.
While hundreds of COVID-19 variations have been identified worldwide, this one appears to spread faster. It's similar to the UK variant in that it shares a common mutation of the spike protein, which the virus uses to infect cells. However, they are different variants. The World Health Organization says they originated separately, and this one in South Africa appears to have a number of additional mutations.
The one from the Republic of South Africa is a little bit more complicated because it overlaps a bit with the mutation in the UK, but it is a little bit more complicated because some of those mutations might have a negative impact on the efficacy of some of the monoclonal antibodies that are used. So we're looking into that very carefully.
Pfizer and BioNTech's vaccine appears to work against both variants, according to early lab tests. But the findings are limited, and authorities say it's too early to tell at this stage if the inoculations will be effective. Scientists are sure that the vaccines can be modified if needed in as little as 6 weeks.
The United Nations World Food Programme is warning of a looming humanitarian crisis in southern Madagascar caused by 3 consecutive years of drought and the recession triggered by the coronavirus pandemic. The World Food Programme says more than 1.3 million Malagasi's are expected to suffer from food insecurity.
The World Food Programme is warning that the 3-year-long drought, coupled with a sharp recession triggered by the COVID-19 pandemic, will leave a third of the population in southern Madagascar struggling to put food on the table. With severe malnutrition rates continuing to spiral and many children forced to beg in order to help their families eat, urgent action is required to prevent a humanitarian crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic has added to the hardship, causing seasonal employment to dry up. Many families relied on this income to get through the lean season, which peaks between January and April.
The number of severely food insecure as well as severely acute malnourished children is increasing as we speak. We need funding and we need resources for the World Food Programme to be able to augment the response and the capacities down in the Grand Sud of Madagascar.
Children are said to be the worst affected by the food crisis, and most of them have dropped out of schools to beg for food in the streets. A WFP assessment in Mbozri in October 2020 found that 3 out of 4 children are absent from school, mostly to help their parents forage for food.
Children have abandoned schools. 75% of the children in this area are either begging or foraging for food.
Part of the current crisis is linked to Madagascar's vulnerability to climate shocks, a problem it shares with the southern African region.
The rains that normally come November, December, we only had 1 day of rain in December in the whole region. And the thunderstorms have been blasting the region, have been blasting and destroying and burying the crops that they were there. The result is a famine-like condition. 1.3 million people food insecure, 135,000 children severely or acutely malnourished, moderate acutely malnourished.
With market closed because of COVID-19 restrictions and people forced to sell their possessions to survive, the UN agency warns that drought conditions are set to persist into 2021, with many forced to leave their homes in search of food and work.
With Istanbul facing further COVID restrictions, scores of public spaces across the city have become venues for light installations as part of a major art exhibition. Dorian Jones reports the aim is to lift people's spirits in these dark times.
In the heart of Istanbul, rays of light in a city grappling with the darkness of soaring coronavirus infections and ever-tightening restrictions. The Turkish city's entertainment has been all but shut down for months. But an exhibition with dozens of art installations across the city aims to bring light and with it hope.
2020 was a dark year and full of uncertainties, and the COVID-19 virus also makes everything so hard. That's why we want to make something positive and something like light, something like joy. Every artwork has different conceptual meanings. If you dig a little, you'll see something more than that, more than light actually.
Light displays crafted by over 50 artists can be seen across the city as they illuminate the sky over Istanbul. The exhibition, backed by Istanbul's city mayor, provides financial support to the city's vibrant art community, which has been hit hard by the lockdowns. It's also an opportunity for artists to reinterpret their work.
Kadın şiddetine karşı Karanlığı Aydınlat projesinin bir parçasıydı.
My piece was originally part of the project, Light the Darkness for Violence Against Women. Here in the time of the pandemic, it is very special for us to project the light of art to the people and bring some brightness to these dark days with this exhibition.
Ufak da olsa aydınlık katmak bizim için çok güzel bir şey.
The exhibition offers a welcome distraction in a city that is the center of Turkey's pandemic.
I am glad that in a place which I call part of my home, there's such consciousness raised and communicated to the greater public.
Istanbul's famed restaurant quarter should be packed in the run-up to the new year, but has been shuttered for months. Restrictions are set to tighten further, with a 4-day lockdown starting New Year's Eve in a bid to rein in soaring infections. For Istanbul's residents, the exhibition offers a welcome shaft of light in dark times. Dorian Jones, VOA News, Istanbul.
And that's our show for today. You can find all the continent's top news and world news online at voaafrica.com. Check it out. I'm Esther Gidou in Washington. Channels Television has our last word from Lagos.
We look forward to bringing you another show next week. ChannelsTV.com is your source for news and programming. I'm Chamberlain Asar. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.